Well, welcome to Module 6. We have now crossed the halfway point in the term and are headed toward the home stretch. Last week we looked at violence and considered some of the variations between different cultures and even within a culture across time in how violence is conceptualized and the various ways in which it has been responded to in different time periods and different societies. We also looked at a couple of specific examples in some detail: infanticide and capital punishment, the death penalty. And again, we see that there's variation. The use of government force in killing people is considered acceptable under some circumstances. War is another example of a circumstance under which the use of violence is accepted and even lauded. In fact, if somebody kills a lot of people in the context of war, one might earn honors and recognition, something that, of course, would not be true under normal circumstances at all. We also looked at motive and how much of a difference motive makes. If a person kills another person in self-defense, it's regarded as completely different than if they kill somebody in the course of perpetrating a robbery. So motive makes a difference. So killing isn't just killing, it's heavily socially embedded, and those social contexts vary from place to place, from time to time. We'll see some of the same in what we take up this week, which is sexual assault. We'll look at the concept in general, and then we'll look at some specific articulations of the concept. And we'll see, again, a lot of variation. For instance, sexual assault, rape, is considered a tool, a weapon of war, used by countries that have defeated their opponents as a way of humiliating the opponent. Sexual assault also has some definitional ambiguities, which we've seen in our own society in the context of date rape. And we'll get a chance to look at some of that as well. We'll look at some of the ways in which false accusations have had consequences. Sexual assault is an especially difficult problem because very often the only people present are the victim and perpetrator. There are no third-party witnesses, and so it's very difficult sometimes to determine what really happened under such circumstances. There's also the issue of victim precipitation, which used to be used in courts as a way of discounting the testimony provided by the victim. In other words, the behavior of the victim was considered a contributing factor. What the victim was wearing, whether the victim was drinking. All of that was considered important in determining the culpability of the accused. Well, our thoughts on that have changed significantly, and I think to no small extent as a real benefit to handling these kinds of cases. But there's still some difficulty, and we've seen some false accusations that have had enormous negative fallout. The University of Virginia case that was profiled in a Rolling Stone article is a good example of how damaging false accusations can be. We'll also look at some of the strategies implemented to prevent and control sexual assault, and we've seen these on college campuses in the form of lots of different interventions. Some colleges have even initiated a sort of procedure, a step-by-step procedure, where physical contact between two people must be accompanied with explicit articulations of consent at each stage of the process. Most places haven't gone to that extent, but as you can see, I think there's a greater awareness of sexual assault and willingness to do something to address and prevent the problem. So we'll have a chance to discuss that in our conversations on the discussion board. And again, I hope you'll find those conversations thought-provoking and interesting. I will be looking at the outlines for the graduate student papers that were submitted last week and get those back to you this week, so you have that feedback in moving forward on your papers that will be due in the last week of the term. So again, I hope you find the information we're going to be covering interesting this week, and please don't hesitate to send me any questions you have. I check for messages every day of the week, including weekends, and I'm more than happy to assist you in any way I can. Well, have a great week, and I will talk to you next week.